Welcome to the 2-Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%, in which we take one giant book, break it down bit by bit, talk about it, have fun. This season, we are doing Vernon Subutex, all 3 volumes, and we're into volume 3. I'm Chad Bosa of Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox.
Howdy, hello.
Who's been watching Mayor of Easttown and obsessed with Yingling and Rust Belt women.
Yeah.
And we have special guest Kate Sherrod on this week. Hi, Kate. How are you doing?
I am also watching Mayor of Easttown, and I'm also reading Cultish.
Oh,
so this is weird, man.
Cultish is interesting.
It is.
The part on the MLM stuff was creepy as shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've listened to the Dream podcast a couple times, so it didn't have as many surprises, but
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. She talks about the one woman, I forget what her name is, but she's the there's a podcast about her too. I don't think it was The Dream. I think it was called something else about this woman who's like an online guru that encourages people to kill them.
Teal Swan.
Teal Swan. Yeah. I had listened to that podcast too, so that was
Me too.
A little bit of a refresher, but like that those people are wild. Like the language, the way that she talks about language being used in this way is really interesting though, even if it's like a little on the surface.
Yeah, I'm finding it a little superficial too, but very engaging, and I feel like me and Amanda could hang.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And I like that in a nonfiction book too.
Oh yeah.
But it's funny to be talking about the language of cults when the cult we're talking about here doesn't seem to use any of that, right?
No,
it's binaural beats.
But first, before we get into it, I have to say that you are also the author of Pulp Sonnets Volume 1, which is what happens when a tale of shoot-em-ups or cyborgs is cut down to 14 rhyming lines. Let us all hail the kaiju penguins, robot hands, a town where zombie call girls roam, or best of all, the creatures hiding the ancient deeps of oceans and of fountains. And recall, some stories cuddle up like doggies, sweet and cute as centaurs' courtships. So if you love fiction and quick flashes that obey the bard's own form, then cast your eyes onto these pulpy pages. And hey, never say you weren't warned. You'll laugh, maybe cry, or sleep with all the lights on. Congratulations.
That's very awesome.
Thank you.
I'm curious, why the sonnet?
That all started 12 years ago. I had writer's block, and I heard this story on NPR where a bunch of photographers were getting over their version of that. They were taking one photo a day, one photo a day, and they did it for like a whole year. So I'm like, what's the equivalent of that for me? And so I decided for some reason Shakespearean sonnets, and I wrote at least one a day, and I didn't miss a day for almost 3 years.
Oh my God.
They weren't always good. They were always weird.
Who cares?
And I let my Twitter followings pick my topics when I couldn't think of something. So I got thrown a lot of weird stuff, like from organic chemistry, and that's my first book, which was Supper Time Sonnets.
Okay.
And after a couple years, I got tired of that, so I decided to up the challenge and see if I could write flash fiction that way. And it turns out I could.
Awesome.
So, but that's where that nickname came from. Is one of my Twitter followers challenged me to something weird and gave me that name.
I love it.
Do you primarily do the like a Shakespearean sonnet, or you do the different?
I am so locked into Shakespearean sonnets now that I actually kind of think that way.
Okay.
Because I've written several thousand.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So in fact, I'm trying to write prose fiction again. It's basically blank verse. So I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm going to write an epic poem now. Because everyone wants to read those, right?
No, but like Anne Carson's
mythology.
Well, I mean, Vikram Seth, right?
Yeah, that's true.
People read The Golden Gate, and didn't you do another one?
I think you're right. I think there's a one that.
I know it's different. Did you read Anne Carson's History of Red?
No, I haven't yet.
Or what's it called?
Autobiography of Red.
You got it.
Autobiography of Red.
Or that one.
Red.
Oh,
I think that might be something you might really dig.
Yeah.
poetry as a long form in a modern sense, and it's just pretty sweet. And obviously it's Ann Carson, so it's gonna be pretty good. So.
Yeah.
We're actually
I was gonna hurry up and write it down. I'm like, no, wait, this is we're recording the show now. I can listen to it later. And
you don't have to write anything down.
It's been a while since I've been on anything.
Oh, that's really rad, though. Very cool, Kate. Jeez, makes me feel like I need to get my ass in gear.
Well, I've read one of the stories in Joytown Killbox, but your publishers are mean.
Oh, yeah.
They formatted it so that I can't read it on any of my Kindles, and that's the only way I can read.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so I have to read it on my phone, and so it's weird.
I apologize. That's personally my fault, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. Because they always let you make all those important formatting decisions. Yeah.
That's very weird, but
it is. But the one story I've read is the little boy in the urinal.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'm a fan.
Did you, Kate, do I remember right that during one of the early episodes of Vernon Subutex, you mentioned that you wrote for like a punk zine back in the day?
I was going to bring down a copy so I could hold it up to the camera, but yeah. In the 90s, I lived in Boston, and I was a writer for a zine called The Pit Report. I didn't get to do a lot of music writing because I wasn't cool enough. I wrote politics articles. So I wrote articles about things like they were trying to ban cigarettes in Massachusetts, and we started an effort to re-legalize tattooing and stuff like that. And I actually wound up getting to write a big profile of Chris Corda from the Church of Euthanasia. I mentioned to you, Chad, one time that I really think that the hyena would be a congregate of this church, because you guys should all check her out. She's still doing stuff, and actually she's branched out more into kind of more melodic music, and it's really cool. But so yeah, I did that, but that means I missed out on a lot of music in the bigger sphere in the 90s, because Boston's punk scene and hardcore scene was really intense.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Very intense.
So,
yeah.
Stuff like Sam Blackchurch, and who else was there? Tree. I mean, 6L6. It was like skull shattering stuff, and it was awesome. But so yeah, I keep waiting for these people to try and revive a zine or something, because it was so fun.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like then, reading Vernon Subutex, coming from like that punk, like the punk scene, the zine scene, and the 90s? Do you identify with it? Is it something?
I do, except I also watched the TV show. What 2
Need
weeks
to hear
ago.
about this.
Yeah, the TV show was pretty awesome. But one thing I noticed was their version of the 90s in Paris in the record store is really banging. Like, it's always full of people, and they're partying down, and it's really cool. And I'm like, I went to a vinyl shop in Central Square in Boston all the time, and I was usually the only customer. It was a lonely old man just really excited that someone wanted to look at things. So I'm just like, is that the difference between Paris and Boston? Oops, there goes my webcam.
In the early 90s, I was at Michigan State, and there was Flat Black and Circular was our like CD and vinyl store, but it was a mix. But every like Tuesday, I think CDs came out on Tuesdays back then, or Wednesday morning. I forget what it was, but
yeah,
that day would be awesome. There'd be a bunch of people in there, and it was pretty cool. But like, yeah, it was mostly CDs. It wasn't really like it wasn't really like people were partying. There's just a bunch of nerds standing around trying to find like the new cool thing.
The Japanese import 12-inch. Oh yeah.
Yep.
I was never quite
the new
that
Boredom's
bad, but
tape that came out.
right. The reissue of the reissue of the reissue.
Oh, that was a real classic.
I say that, and right after we're done here, I'm going to the vinyl shop here in town, and I'm picking up a reissue of the Gentle Giant. Stephen Wilson remix, so I can't make too much fun.
So how is the TV show?
You guys definitely want to watch it. It's worth blowing your 7-day free Topic subscription for. They changed a few things. They kind of condensed the timeline before. So the whole relationship of Alex Bleach and Vodka Satana kind of takes place within the record store during all the partying. And I had to go back and read again because I was like, did I remember it wrong? But they basically put Vernon with Alex Bleach the night he dies instead of finding out later. So that, you know, and you can see why they would do that for a TV show.
Sure.
So there's little changes like that. And they bring the Hyena Anais relationship way forward. So it's almost like a whole second storyline going on. And I was happy to see that. They've done it really well. And the chick they've got playing the hyena is amazing. And I can't remember any of the actors' names. The guy that plays Alex Bleach is mesmerizing.
Really?
And he gets more screen time than he does in the book, including some performances. And
cool.
So it's worth checking out.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was on some page, and I'm trying to find it on here, but it was like it was for some book I was looking up. Oh, I think it might have been this. I think there's a book by this when I was writing about the Granta issue. I think there's a book by one of the authors that whose story I like the most because it involves dog penis. I think that her first book has just been optioned a topic. And I was like, wow. In like a secondary set, not just this random Vernon Subutex thing, but
yeah. And it's they made some choices about the soundtrack that don't quite feel like they belong in the book, but they're still fun.
I think more fun
because the emotional beats in the story require a slightly, you know, sometimes quieter, sometimes more thoughtful, and the pieces chosen there, and it's all like recognizable. It's mostly stuff that you'll know.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, watch it, man. If you like the books, you gotta.
How far does it go through? Does it only cover like a volume?
It only covers the first book.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
So,
I didn't like watch it if it covered everything. I was hoping.
No, that's I'm hoping. I keep looking to see if there's going to be second, third season, but so far there doesn't seem to be any news about that.
It was a big French program, I think. So maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But it's wild. The author that plays Vernon, I think he's a pretty big deal in Europe. I don't watch a lot of French. I've been watching Eastern European cinema for the last couple of years. He's like a tall Peter Dinklage. He's like that kind of appealing and that kind of handsome.
Right.
And it's really kind of fun to watch him.
Oh, that's cool.
He's really, and he, you know, I was expecting someone with bigger eyes and, you know, a little more apologetic looking, but he's definitely like kind of a hustler.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what have you thought of the book so far?
I have really been enjoying it a lot. I participate in the chat rooms probably more than anybody because I'm retired and lonely and I have nothing else to do on Thursday afternoons, you guys.
Yeah, we're happy for it. Then.
Yeah, that's
we need more literary citizens like you. So
yeah, there you go. And then you find out it's just another writer after all.
Just never mind.
But they're really remarkable. I like this style of storytelling where we really closely share one character's point of view every chapter.
Yeah.
But I am dragging a little in this third book, you guys.
Really?
I was like, why am I hearing about Stephanie now?
Stephanie came out of nowhere for me.
And Max, but I'm just a Stephanie chapter. I was just like, oh.
I did like Stephanie chapter because I like any mom who complains about their kids in like an honest way, and having a literal 14-year-old boy when she's like jerking off all the time or something. Yep.
Oh my God, that line about the Charlie Hebdo and he stopped for an hour.
Yeah.
It was so morbid and so hilarious. It is perfect versioning the puns. Yeah.
So I mean, this is the worst I've felt about the whole thing, and it's still awesome. So
yeah, that's interesting. This was a section that when I read these three, it's like 3 sections per day, right? Or like maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4, and it was the first time that when I finished it last night, I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like all the I was like, this all was coming back to me, or like I'd remember bits and pieces. I kind of remember the bit about the 14-year-old boy, but I didn't remember they went to Barcelona. I didn't remember anything about Max. The Javier part where he's like talking about racism, I didn't remember. Like all of this was like seemingly new to me, which means I was probably like pretty high when I read it the first time. But you know, nor it wasn't the most memorable section.
Right. It's
was
not.
It's xenophobia and racism. Was it more shocking this time than in book 1 when he's in the supermarket?
I think not.
It was funnier.
Because I remember in the supermarket, it was like bullet in the head, like this woman standing here with her like shoot her in the face. Like it was really like, wow, okay, holy cow, that's aggressive. And then this was just more like, I guess maybe because of it being related to tourism, maybe made it a little softer or easy, or like more palatable, if that's even possible. You know what I mean?
It seemed more philosophical to me, like less of like a gut reaction of like xenophobia and more of like, you know, there's sometimes that people just don't get along. Like we just like, is it really bad to say like Christian and Muslims don't get along? It's like, I remember I was writing jacket copy for a book by Nicholas Mosley at Delkey. I think it was Inventing God, but it may have been something else. But it's set in the Middle East. I said something about like the never-ending conflict in the Middle East, and someone tried to change it because they're like, well, you don't know if in a few years it'll just be peaceful and over. I've got like 6,000 years on my side here. It's like,
well, there's this thing called recorded history, and let's just go.
Well, in that vein, my favorite bit probably of this whole section that we read is right after he's looking at the yachts and he's working himself up. He's really pissed off at the yachts and he's imagining the yacht owners. And he says, where are the fucking terrorists when you need them?
Oh my gosh, that one. Yeah.
Why couldn't they come here and blow them all up, one after another, like a roll of firecrackers? If anyone needed conclusive proof of imbecility, the rank uselessness of those warriors of the apocalypse, this is it. They're capable of spreading terror, but they're utterly fucking useless when it comes to attacking the people who are really screwing up the world.
Yep.
I'm just like, Xavier might be my favorite character just because he's so complicated.
Yeah.
Right? And at that moment right there, I'm just like, oh. And I hated him when we started. I was like, this guy. And someone told me, I don't know if it was on Twitter, if it was one of you, someone told me, just you wait. And they were right.
I think that was when I was saying, could you redeem him? Is there a way that he could get part of it too, that we talked about that first time with him and Patrice? And Patrice, but they were both like, is there something
really hard to like? Those two are really hard to like. Yeah.
Right. Although even in here, it's like Patrice shows up as like that. Is it Penelope? Wait, what's her name?
Yeah, Penelope.
Penelope. It says like the guy that got Luke that got killed's ex-girlfriend, right? And he's like, and she seems like completely happy and like not weird about it. So
he hasn't started wailing on her yet.
Yeah, he hasn't started beating the shit out of her, which is good. Growth. Maybe the music is changing everything.
Yeah, that's one thing that really hooked me on this was it's basically almost speculative fiction.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that binaural beats actually work and they actually do something to crowds and I'm really interested to see where all this is going.
Yeah.
And the idea that was what was changing everybody hadn't really occurred to me yet, but yeah, I could see it.
There's so Kate, have you seen like a video of a concert or been to a concert, a Dan Deacon concert?
No, I'd never even heard of him until last week.
So I showed Brian one of the videos and it's sort of like this.
Okay.
In a way.
Kind of like a controlled seizure for a whole group. Maybe.
It's like, wait, is it not St. Elmo's Fire? What is the one where everyone has a mass hysteria? St. Titus's Dance or whatever. There's like one of those things. It's kind of like that, but it's wild. And like I've been to ones where like he'll set up like people moving in certain directions and other people moving in different ways, and like creates like a organic pull. And that's kind of the deal, is to get people moving and doing things out of their comfort zone, and so that like the music and the sense of it takes over. The community takes over from like the usual like standing back and watching an artist perform something at like that sort of like hipster remove. Like every time
you're killing me, man.
See, cool. There's always like the guy standing there just like this, just watching.
That would have been me.
Oh, you're killing me. I live in Wyoming. I haven't gotten to see live music that doesn't go twang in 20 years. I want to go to a show so bad. But,
I do have a question though. Do you guys have a sense or a feeling so far from the text as to why Vernon is doing what he's doing? It just seems kind of like odd. Like he was like moving around, and he was kind of like this like migrant agent at the beginning of book 1, and then through like book 2 to 3, he's like become like this kind of like monkish sort of character. Like I don't get a read on him anymore. Like he's kind of somewhat gone silent. It seems to me.
He was kind of the high priest of the record store, right?
Yeah.
And then he had to go on his little wandering pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And he's come away with some kind of maybe wisdom or at least understanding of himself. And so now he's ready to be the high priest again.
I have a theory that ties into that. What about like it is that the book 1 through now is the disillusion of his ego.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
He's trying to like get his place, keep his shit together. He's been like all that, and then he loses everything, and he becomes almost like a cipher, like you say, Brian. He's not really like a present, but he's like around, and he has no like self-interest anymore. He just lets people take care of him, lets them move him around. He plays the music for them. He knows how to like give people that sort of experience, but he doesn't like have any self-drive, except to maybe because of the kind of impending conflict of like the money and what's going to happen with this 500,000 euros or whatever it is. It is euros, right?
Yeah. All right, Charles.
I find it interesting too, like as he's willing to give up everything, and like just go into being a bum and like completely anchorless and no brick and mortar foundation. I don't care. People will give me something if I need it. Like very Jesus Christ, right? Like I'll wander around and I'll sleep where I gotta sleep. If I need shoes, somebody give me shoes, whatever. And like these disciples start circling around him, and it's now that he's given up everything that I feel like book 3 is, to me, feels super economic. There's money in everything in this one. And it's as Vernon's not worried about money anymore. I don't care where my next check comes from or where I'm going to sleep. And like I find that kind of interesting that maybe those things are going to kind of.
He really doesn't seem to want this inheritance.
Yeah, seems very kind of. Everybody else is more interested in it than he is.
I like their idea. So what would you do with 500,000 euros?
That proves he's the correct heir for Charles.
Yeah.
Because Charles is just like, what the fuck do I do with all this money?
I don't want to touch it.
I buy ugly shoes.
I
love Charles so much.
On page 94, I believe he's talking with Pamela. And, the lottery, he never told us. I don't think he told anyone. 1 million, maybe 2, I'm not sure. And that's why you brought the widow back here? You were afraid that otherwise she'd take off with the cash? No. She was the one who insisted on coming. But it's in his will that he wants to leave us half the money. He left just a letter. That bitch, she'll never give us our share. We were right. Like the difference in how they want to deal with like I don't know, maybe 1 million, maybe 2 million. Like that's a big difference. I don't know, whatever. I think
if the rest of this book just ends up with that whole scene breaking up over money, I'm so disappointed.
The capitalists, like people are coming in and grabbing hold of people.
Yeah, but it's been capitalism all along from book 1.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't seen Larry Dope lately.
Yeah.
Oh, Larry Dope gets it even worse in the TV show. You guys.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes. I was like, oh, they did her one better.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I really
yeah.
I do like when the widow, is it Vero? Is that her name? I'm forgetting everything.
That sounds right. Yeah.
But when she's in the car and his girlfriend's like, Jesus, you're kind of a complaining bitch. Like, you're so unfucking pleasant. It's like, I fucking hate cows. I don't like the way their eyes look at me. I hate dogs. I hope there's no nudity at this commune you're taking me to. Everything sucks.
Yeah, it makes me think of Mayor of
You hate
Easttown.
dogs. Yeah, it's funny that she and Olga become friends because she hates dogs, and that's all Olga cares about.
Olga seems to be losing her shit a little bit too, though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people too have kind of faded into the background, which I'm hoping we don't end up with a Feast for Crows here, where all the cool characters are off screen for most of the book.
I don't remember.
I'm missing Aisha a lot.
Yeah.
I'm missing Celeste.
I just like Celeste too. I really want the Celeste and Daniel. That's really
we get one little bit of Daniel here, and we have our Celeste sighting at the end of the section, and
oh, that's right, yeah, because that's pretty cool that happens in that weird way. That does tie together nicely into the little intersecting pool ball sort of action of the book, but it is also a little bit scripty or like plotty.
Yeah.
That it has to come back, but I think Aisha and Celeste have to come back.
If they don't, I'm gonna be mad. I'm very invested in these characters.
Who are you wanting to see most aside from the two of them? Anyone?
I want more of the hyena.
Yes.
I want to know what's happened to Anais. And I really want to see if Larry Dope gets his shit back together.
I love that he just sort of broken down. His son was gone off screen now too.
Yeah, Tony Dope.
Yeah. Yeah. He's missing. So there's a good group of people that need to come back.
And but mostly that's something else you got to see the TV show again. I was thinking this whole time of Daniel as like not Buck Angel, right? Because it's like, you guys know who Buck Angel is.
I'm not familiar.
A trans man who was a porn star after transitioning.
Okay.
So his big whole marketing thing was he was the man with a pussy.
Okay.
So anyway, here's the opposite. Here's a porn star who became a man after a porn career. So I'm like, anti-Buck Angel. They cast someone and made him look exactly like Buck Angel. So I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, he has a very distinct look with the mustache and the shaved head and the tattoo sleeves and wearing the sleeveless undershirt thing. I mean, that is Buck Angel's look. So I'm like, this has to have been deliberate. What's going on here? I'm not smart enough to get it.
Wow.
But yeah.
That guy is very particular.
Yeah. And so Daniel needs, I would read a whole book just about Daniel. I would. And and you said the hyena shows up in Apocalypse Baby, was it?
Yep.
Next on my list.
Yeah, it's an Apocalypse Baby. Yes, that's right. Right. It's all about her in Apocalypse Baby.
Oh, cool.
So I have the other two that I haven't read, like Bye Bye Blondie and Blah Moi. I've never read. I have both of them. I ordered them when we started this because like I'm not gonna read two other novels in the middle.
I read like 5 or 6 books at the same time.
I do that, but they can't be by the same author.
That would be weird.
It's like
easy to mix them up.
That's if there's a taboo in reading, that's a taboo for me, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lazy. That's why I just did the shortest one, King Kong Theory, and it's 9. So I figure that gives me some brownie points, and then I'm good. So.
Yeah.
What is the least amount of work I can do? Try to say one thing smart.
I was super bummed, but for whatever reason, the recording cut our joke last week at the end when we said who doesn't like King Kong? And you're like, Godzilla. And blondes. Blondes aren't necessarily bad to King Kong.
Very good.
So we'll put that joke in here. So you did not like Stephanie though.
Mm-mm. But I am a spinster childish bitch, so I can't relate to her at all. I'm like, I don't hate children. I just never wanted them, and I have as little to do with them as possible.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
move.
So I don't relate.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Kids are wonderful. Kids are wonderful.
I feel like I'm going to be an endangered species in a couple of years, though. They're going to like force every woman to have children.
No way. Too many people.
Right.
Oh man, but yeah, so hers was weird, like come out of nowhere because we hadn't met her at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good chunk of this section as well.
Yeah. I do love that she references what I'm going to use as the bumper music is "Bitch Better Have My Money," which is so
Adriana?
Yeah.
Oh, that's something we haven't talked about yet. Is I've been enjoying your music selections a lot, and I've thrown all of those onto the playlist.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the playlist has been really fun to put together, and I hope some other people that listen to this will jump on and make some suggestions because
yeah, I think a Vernon Subutex like Spotify or something would be really
well,
cool.
I've got one going, and then someone else made one from before.
Okay.
The one that I made has the American cover of the third book because it's a schnauzer. And I have a schnauzer.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
We said last week was a terrier.
A terrier. Well, schnauzer's a kind of terrier.
Oh, okay.
So,
do we know whose schnauzer this is?
I'm waiting to meet the damn schnauzer.
Okay, so I marked all the parts about the dogs, but I was like, I don't know anything. I don't have a dog. I don't know anything about dogs.
No, so we can come together here, Chad. I have no children. You have no dog.
Exactly.
We can meet in the middle with Virginie Dupont.
So we have a schnauzer. Okay.
To circle back to the song selection with Rihanna, I was curious though if obviously it ties in with the economic through line. Bitch better have my money, but I know that DuPont's a big fan of Camille Paglia, and she had written essays about Rihanna. She's like infatuated with Rihanna. So I wonder if there's something where she had maybe read some of that, and so it's kind of like in there or not. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I haven't read Camille Paglia since the 90s. I read Persona, and that's.
I haven't read much
that was enough.
Stuff. I read some of the older stuff, but
yeah. She ruined Moby Dick for me.
Like her and Andrea Dworkin were like in my feminist studies class in college, sort of. And that was like the last time I read them, like in any serious way. I have to ask you, Brian, though, because it's stuck in my head. So remember when we were doing Rock in Your Mouth, and there's that song that said, "I bought myself a 3-story house, bitch, a trilogy." What the fuck song was that?
That's Big Sean.
That's right.
Y'all don't fuck with me. I think
Should I throw that on there?
I don't give a fuck. It's just that over and over again.
On a 3-story house, bitch, a trilogy. This is one of my favorite lines ever.
There's the comedian Hannibal Buress, and he says, "I don't get rap songs today." There was this one lyric where it was, "My room's got rooms in it." That's called a closet. That's nothing to brag about. That's just called a closet.
I have
the house is a trilogy. I like it. That's good.
I'm gonna have to throw that on there just so I can hear it. I've thrown some stuff on there that isn't in the book just because I'm just like, I think like I threw in some voluptuous horror of Karen Black because I love those guys, and I feel like Gail would have been listening to that if nobody else, you know, and that's someone else that's kind of disappeared.
Yeah, totally.
Gail. Oh, Virginie, I'm sorry we keep mangling all the French, but we're Americans.
But I think I agree with you, Kate. For me, book 3, it's dragging just a little bit. I'm sure there's going to be a payoff, or I feel like I'm in good hands. I'm not worried about it. I've been so impressed with DuPont's writing, but yeah, I mean, even with it maybe dragging and not being as explosive and engaging as the first 2, it's still fantastic. It's just, to me, it's like in comparison to 1 and 2, it's just not as fantastic.
It's funny to hear you say that something's tracking after you guys just read some Gaddis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I got some Gaddis feels a little bit in this one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
I didn't finish the recognitions, and that's been my soul. I was just like, oh, I can't.
Hey, fun.
That was more than most people would ever do.
Yeah.
I'm retired. I got time on my hands.
We're the JR stuff. I could get that on that board with that in here.
This part here at the beginning with 80, when I was thinking about money and when they're driving around looking at the landscape, the detritus,
right?
A mournful procession, the architecture of desolation, an assemblage of thankless materials, a landscape with nothing to please the eye. Everywhere they have settled. They have driven into similar zones. On the outskirts of Saint Brick, blah, blah, blah. The same superstores, Go Sport, Boulanger, Auchan, Decathlon, Jardinland, Darty. The same company selling organic food. The same vast outlet store selling shoes at factory prices and DIY materials. Like this idea of like getting out to the outskirts and it's still just money, money, money.
And like, yeah, and like that sort of gutting of like the uniqueness of products too.
Yep, and the developers and developing everything, and yeah, it just had this. It gave me that kind of vibe of like you're part of this machine, and the machine is just money, money, money.
I marked one on the ensuing page on 81 where she declares France is the worst offender in Europe when it comes to destroying the outskirts of cities. It's cancer. That's what it is. It used to be beautiful, this country, but developers didn't give a damn whether shopping centers worked or not. As far as they're concerned, it's just numbers on a balance sheet. It's ridiculous. We're being governed by idiots.
Come to Cheyenne, Wyoming sometime, you guys.
Which I have to point out in relation to that, Mayor Lovely Warren, who covered up the murder of Daniel Prude, whose husband was arrested by the FBI for having a big drug and gun operation. She did not win the primary this week, so she is no longer going to be mayor of Rochester for the first time.
You got like a progressive elected or moving forward, right?
Yeah, Malik Evans. I don't know a whole lot about him except that he looks really familiar, like I've seen him around before.
Mentioned in the same breath with India Walton a lot. So
yeah, yeah. So
there's this echo too on 80 and 81. When something's this ugly, it has to be saying something. Mariana quips, and then on page 81, how do you make something so ugly look good? But no, I feel like when we were talking about these characters, they're all just ugly. They're just terrible. Like they're complicated people, but they're kind of terrible for the most part. But there's beauty in all of them as well, which is what I really find neat and amazing. They're fully rendered. They're not two dimensional.
Yeah.
But I like this idea.
She's showing us the whole person every time.
What's small, yet everything.
I might be forgetting something here, but one idea about these four sections that these four sections have four people who are anti-commune. Mm-hmm. Like Vero hates all the shit about it. Stephanie's like, no, this is gonna be weird. She goes there with that ex-boyfriend who doesn't want to sleep with her anymore, and like it's like this isn't my thing. The Javier is like, oh, he's into it. It was suspicious, and then Max is like wants to be part of it, but is suspicious.
But also says anytime that you rub shoulders with somebody and you're too close, you're going to dislike that person.
Yeah,
so there's never been a Peruvian-France conflict.
Yeah,
exactly. That was the example. But this idea of like oh, these ugly ass Germans, these stupid Chinese, these terrible like this and that. Like anybody you come into contact with, you're going to hate them and you're not going to like them and. So a commune, you're going to be, that's not going to work for him.
No. So maybe this section is sort of a setting up that of like people who are suspicious of and doesn't like, because it does, she does have to give a distance that you can't just buy into this entirely. And everyone can't just buy into their like weird rave culture of like going from warehouse to warehouse out in the middle of nowhere, France. So maybe like that's why it maybe drags a little bit, but also is setting up something to get to at least make it more valid.
She's racking up the pool balls again so she can shoot them apart.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a good metaphor, Chad.
Yeah.
It's
got to be good for something other than drinking.
Well, and you guys just found a reason for why this is dragon. That's because it's
there you go.
We're moving things into place for the next big explosion, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine if Act 2 drags as long as Act 3 ties it all up and gives us some fireworks.
Yeah.
Yep. That would be really good. Yeah. I'm curious if I'll remember the next part. Like, not sure. Every week is a mystery at this point.
Good.
That's the theme of post-pandemic.
Just like in the middle of the pandemic last summer where I was like freaking out and like not doing well. So I probably just didn't stick.
That's the beauty of the world we're living in right now. They're desperately trying to get our attention somewhere else and like UFOs. I don't give a shit about UFOs. Are you kidding me?
I'm so excited for this report. I cannot wait for this report to come out, and it's just not coming. It's driving me insane. All I want is for them to be like, yeah, dude, we're just busted with aliens.
I'm with you. I'm stuck. I'm immunocompromised, and out here nobody's getting vaccinated and nobody wears a mask. So I'm stuck in my house. I'm stuck in my house every day. It's been over a year. The most exciting thing I do is I go to pick up the curbside delivery groceries. So like, yes, aliens, please.
Yes, take me. Please.
I spent a lot of my childhood listening to Coast to Coast, and
yes,
there's nothing else to do. So.
This is the best show ever.
I know it's actually still kind of fun.
Is it?
But it's gotten really Alex Jonesy. So
yeah. I tried to listen to like clips on like a podcast, but they
that's the best way to do it.
But like Art Bell stuff was just the goddamn best. That was like just so wonderful. I remember listening to it like because I would drive long places to go see like my parents or whatever, and it would be late at night because we'd work and then drive and whatever. And so it always end up listening to it. And there was the time where he like had to go off the air for like 2 months because he claimed that this alien had come down and threatened his family. Kidnap his family, so he had to disappear so that he could protect them. Fucking best. That was the best video ever.
Right. And now it's all the Philippines, and I'm just like, George, he's kind of. I'm waiting for him to just like come out and say that the Watkins are his best buds because they've been on a couple times. And did you guys watch that documentary on HBO about Q?
Yeah, yeah,
it's really good.
I thought it was wonderful. Like,
and it convinced me. Yeah, Ron's our boy. Although the hyena could have been. I could totally see hyena doing something like that, right?
Yeah, that was a good job.
I do know that you like to do any recommendations. I actually have a recommendation this week.
Yeah.
On Adult Swim, which is based out of Atlanta. Wonderful. There is a very short, I think there's only 2 or 3 of them that came out. It's a show called Soft Focus. And they did one on the McAfee antivirus. And that guy is crazy. She did a comedic interview with him on his island. So, sadly, we lost him this week. But check out Soft Focus, the one on the antivirus guy. Holy cow, that guy's insane.
Yeah, there's a great episode it's a dual episode of that show, Behind the Bastards. That's also very in depth about what a wackadoo that guy
was. Wild.
Oh my god,
it's so cringy and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my recommendation for the week.
Recommendation, solid.
Yeah.
It seemed timely with his passing.
Yeah. So should we do favorite lines?
Do you have one?
I've got one. I have this 127 is like perfect for me. Hatred is invigorating. You only need to go on Twitter to realize that everyone's at it. Trolling, insulting, fighting, it's good for the soul. It realigns your chakras, as the hippies at camp would say. Yes.
All right, that's fine. We can stay right there because I have one that I know on page 127 as well. You can't expect your kids to believe in nothing but the sanctity of Samsung.
But you can in the sanctity of Apple.
Well, yeah, you can just change that to Apple for the United States, but yeah, I just thought
That's a great line.
and the line before that, he enrolled her in catechism class.
I do like when he's talking about like, you know, the Catholic Church screwed everything up. They should have put down like big cathedrals out in the suburbs and like taken over and canonized. It's like that's probably right in like a weird, twisted religious way.
Should have acted like a mega church.
Yeah, exactly.
I found another one, but it's also Xavier.
Yes.
And it reminded me a lot of what my dad says about mom, but I kind of love it. She can spend 3 hours buying broccoli and a dozen eggs. He knows his wife. She reads the labels of every product. She's capable of learning the language just to annoy the sales assistant. Yes, mariage. My patron saint.
That's good.
So good. It's so good. Okay, is there anything you want to recommend?
Well, I have a suggestion or two for what you guys could do for future shows after Bolaño. Are you really going to do Ayn Rand?
No.
You guys are just perverse enough to do it. So like,
we're definitely doing 2666, but no Ayn.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I was thinking, as much as you love trilogies and translation, what about Robert Musil, The Man Without Qualities?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it's incomplete, but it's awesome. And that's a trilogy, plus there's Agatha, or The Forgotten Sister, which is about Ulrich's sister.
Right.
Which I haven't read yet. I've got it, but I haven't read it yet because some people keep distracting me.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Brian Catling, the War trilogy, seems like it would really be something that you guys could sink your teeth into. It's kind of about a fantasy version of Africa, the consequences of colonialism. There's a lot of biblical stuff. There are freaky fallen angels that are almost straight out of that Aronofsky Noah.
Yeah.
And robot fucking, and it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever read, and I love it. So I was like,
I remember that.
You guys do that a lot.
So there.
Borrh.
Yeah. So there's a trilogy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the first one's just called The Vor.
That's one I remember.
And yeah, and then I'm drawing a blank on the other two, but that's what Google's for, right?
Well, believe it or not, that sounds fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
And I listened to them on audio, and they were really, really great that way. So I listened to a lot of audiobooks.
First thing comes up as the Vor trilogy explained.
That's cheating. That's your job.
I need an explanation before I know what the names of the 3 books are.
I would like to go to Africa. I don't think, have we done anything translated from Africa yet?
No.
I don't think we have.
The other 2 are the Erstwhile and the Cloven.
Yeah, the Erstwhile is their name for these angel creature things that are actually they're being punished for not sufficiently guarding the tree of knowledge. So I mean, it's crazy, and like there's a lot of references to Raymond Roussel and I forget. There's a whole bunch of historical characters in it.
Cool.
So it's a little closer to straight up fantasy than to magical realism, but there's so much to chew on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Good suggestions. Good suggestions.
And it's weird as shit.
Yeah, that's fun.
Well, we definitely don't do that. So
right. I originally found you guys because you were reading Codex 1964.
Okay, I was like,
that's how I originally. That's one of my favorites of all time.
Have you read Radius Terminus?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's really fun.
I feel like some weird ass stuff.
Yeah.
Just people hanging out by a nuclear hole.
Sweet.
Throwing shit in there, controlling other people's minds.
The name sounded like something out of Borges. So
terrible men. There's like neologisms about how terrible men are. It's really interesting. Really cool.
It's very fun and dark.
Cool.
But Anyways, well, thank you, Kate, for being on. This has been really fun. We'll have to have you back in future seasons of books that you want to read that aren't called JR.
Or the Fountainhead.
Or the Fountainhead. One of us would end up probably dead. Like, there's suicide or murder. I'm not sure which.
Could it end with everybody just drinking some Flavor Aid?
Yeah. Flavor Aid. Shit. So for next week, we're going through page 229. I don't remember who's going to be on, but someone will be. And until then, I've got nothing except that rate us, review us, tell your friends, do all the fun stuff that you're supposed to do. Anyone have any final comments?
No.
If you haven't read these books yet, get off your ass, man.
Topic.
Yeah.
It should
Watch
be
the
topic.
show.
I keep thinking of it as topics.
I know. And I kept my subscription actually because there's a lot of other weird international TV series on there, and I love that.
I'm intrigued by what's your problem or what's your diagnosis, whatever that mental health one was.
I'm still
I
waiting to
mentioned
hear
to my
back.
therapist, and she knew all about it. She's like, "Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it's not good."
A few of my stories were optioned at Quibi. I'm still waiting to hear back, but fingers crossed.
Oh,